Hello and welcome to the 24 UK podcast. You join us in London today. Unfortunately, there's no Trig beside me, but he will be back. We'll be broadcasting live this week with our review podcast. Now today we are joined by one Jon Cassar. Welcome, Jon.
Great to be here.
Who of course is the executive producer and director and massive 24 fan. So I couldn't think of anyone better to be here today to review the first 2 episodes of 24.
I don't think I've ever been introduced as a 24 fan. That's good. I like that. I am. I truly am.
When we met back in LA, that was
a long time ago now.
Yeah, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And you said back then you're a big 24 fan.
Yeah.
There's not many shows that you would, TV shows you would actually watch that maybe necessarily you work and film on.
Yeah,
This is one of them.
Exactly.
So, how are you finding London life?
It's absolutely fantastic. We were actually just talking about it, myself and the actors and the very few crew members that we brought, and we're just loving it here. We just are very comfortable here, and when you come on such a long tour of duty as we're on, it's 5.5 months for us. You start counting the days off, going, when do I go home? When do I go home? And then at some point the calendar flipped to, oh my God, there's only a few days till I go home. So we're in that. I mean, we still have 35, 40 days, but we can kind of see the end now, and some of us are getting a little disappointed. We've really enjoyed the city. It's been great.
So how have you found it with the 12 episodes as opposed to the 24? So in terms of time frame of you shoot, how much has that changed?
Well, I got to tell you, the very first thing that affected us with the 12 is that we're all looking at each other going, how the heck did we do 24 episodes a year for 8 years in a row? I don't know how we did it. It truly was a marathon, because even these 12 episodes, we're now down to our last 4. We're shooting, 9 and 10 and 11 and 12 are being prepped. And we're tired. It's been hard. Yeah. And we just keep thinking, oh my God, we wouldn't have been even halfway on a normal year. So that part of it is kind of refreshing in one way and good for the soul and the mind. As far as the way we're shooting the show, we're shooting it the same way as far as how many days we have and the way we do 2 together. All of that's the same. A little different, obviously, in the script, because now we can jump hours.
So that just gives you a little
not that we do it a lot, quite honestly. The little sort of insight. We're not jumping every 10 minutes. Yeah. It's going to be very specific jumps that are very important to the story, probably closer to the end. So that's a little different. But otherwise, I think up to that point, you're going to get your normal 24. Yeah. It's just going to come at you fast. And I think the depressing part is, I think for the audience, is going to end really quickly.
Well, that's what we were watching the show, 2 episodes. You think, well, we've only got 10 left.
That's right.
Normally we'd have 22.
Exactly. So, and I'm not even sure if they're going to maybe do the last 2 as a. Yeah. They might do that. I mean, Fox is, that's something they decide later. So it doesn't make it a lot of weeks of 24, unfortunately.
But it's good to be back. But it is good to be back. We'll take 12 over.
Well, it's actually good to be back on 2 fronts. It's good to be back because it's good for us to be back as a unit. And especially with the actors, not so much from the crew side, because we really, Fox really wanted to have a British crew, and I was totally behind that. So really, it's just me and my director of photography, Jeff McGatt, and otherwise it's a complete British crew. Some American actors, obviously, but pretty much a British crew and British cast. So that part of it, obviously, is completely different. And then, I mean, the rest of it is what it is. It's 24.
Yeah. So how did you find leaving people, the old crew behind, like Rodney Charters?
Well, very difficult. Yeah. I mean, very difficult. It was the hardest thing for me, and I think harder for them, because this was a family. We were together for 9 years. Kiefer talks about it all the time. Yeah. It's the one thing he misses more than anything. So we all knew, but it was just something that was part of putting this special together. It wasn't another year at 24. It was a special thing, and so. Look, we're all grown-ups. This is the business. This is the way it works. I mean, we all went off and did other things anyways. I didn't even do year 8. I was already not there. So, I mean, I had already left a year earlier. So, it's just part of the way the business works.
So you left 24 for season 8. Why did you come back?
Well, I think, look, I didn't really want to leave. It was just circumstances that I can't really talk about in detail. That's what happened. Yeah. But the the opportunity to come back and finish it off, absolutely, not even a hesitation. So it was always unfinished business for me. You know, the show was the love of my life as far as my career goes, and so to go back, to be able to go back and finish it off, why would I say no to that? I mean, it was pretty exciting that, you know, and now I get to do the last shot of Jack Bauer, whatever that's going to be. And you know, there was a place in my heart saying that should have been me. That should have been me. So, and look, it's raining. I love it. It's so typically. This is exactly. But it was sunny 10 seconds ago. And now it's cloudy. Now it's rainy. Welcome to London. It's great.
There's people cutting the grass.
Yes, I know. And people, you know, jogging with shorts, and other people with down jackets on. So you can't tell.
Let's hope
it goes away.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's doing the opposite.
Okay.
Hello, this is Jon Cassar, and I'm on the podcast, and we had a little break because it absolutely poured on us. So we were just joking that it's very much like what we've been going through here, shooting the show, where beautiful and sunny, it rains, and then it's beautiful and sunny 5 minutes later. So it's something we have to deal with, basically.
That's one question that someone tweeted in or put on our website was, how have you found the weather? So
well, the weather's been inconsistent, obviously, but it hasn't hurt us that much. First of all, we're not outside all the time. If we were 100% outside, we'd have a big problem, but we're not. I mean, we're only a small percentage exterior. A lot of what we do is inside. A lot of what we do is inside our own set. So it hasn't been too bad. You know, we've had days where it's poured on us for 10 hours. We've had days where it's like this, it's sunny, it goes back and forth. It is inconsistent, but usually, you know, in 24, it gets hidden pretty quickly because, again, 24 moves so fast. You're not spending your time looking at the trees and whether they have leaves on them or not. So I'm hoping that we're going to get through it, basically, you know, as inconsistent as it is. And, you know, I think we're on the better part of it now anyways. I think the first months in January when we started shooting was bitterly cold. It was bitterly cold, bitterly wet, and so it's a little better now. So, you know, it just means that people still have to wear winter jackets in June because we're supposed to be one day. So, you know, the extras are going to have to be a little warm when we're shooting in June.
So in terms of the budgets for 24 episodes to 12, is the budget the same? Is it different?
Yeah, because it's based on per episode. Right. You know, the budgets for 24 are based on per episode, and I'm not privy to exactly what it is, but we are getting to do what we want to do, and that's the important part for me as a creative producer. I'm not a money producer, I'm the creative producer. So, you know, from my end, the writers write these sequences and I go, this is what it takes to do these sequences, and they're saying, let's go for it. So I think the budget is pretty much equatable to what we had when we shot it in the States.
Yeah. So in terms of season 8 ending, so you spoke about it, you were thinking about you wanted to take that shot. So what did you think of the ending?
I actually liked the ending. I mean, it was definitely gray, and at the time, I don't think anyone really minded that it was gray. It wasn't one way or the other.
I remember you saying back in LA that you wanted that ending so you could potentially pick it up. Selfishly,
it came true.
Yeah.
But I think it was based on potentially a setup for a movie, potentially for a setup of, well, I think a movie. No one ever thought that we were going to come back and do a TV show again. That was not in anybody's mind, I don't think. I was always pitching the idea of doing like a series of TV movies. I always thought that was a good idea, like we did with Redemption. I just, you know, and so I said to them, I said, let's do a TV movie every year. I think the fans would love that. You know, it's a short time period for Kiefer and anybody else that we want coming back. We just go, we do it, and, you know, we can do that every year. Definitely. Do a series of TV movies. And then that kind of spun off into this kind of mini-series. So, you know, I think just the idea of coming back is interesting because I don't think people have let it go. You know, no. I don't think people let television go anymore anyways. You know, people are binge viewing, they've got streaming, they've got the DVDs. A lot of young people that have just come to the series within the last year, you know, you tell them it's off the air, they might not even know it's off the air because they've got so much content to watch. So I think it stays alive, and we won't be the first. I think 24 is on the edge of something new again. I think you're going to see other shows coming back. I think Heroes has already mentioned it's coming back. You know, you've got Veronica Mars as a movie. I think television is in a different place than it used to be. That when you went off the air at some point, that was it. You were off the air. No one thought about the show anymore. It was done. You know, a couple of diehards watch it on DVD, but that was it. Now the streaming thing has changed everything, and so the shows are live again. And so to come back, I think you've got a built-in audience right away, which I think we've proved already just with our first 2 episodes.
So in terms of social media, I mean, do you think that's played into maybe getting 24 back on air? I know when Bin Laden got killed in Pakistan, Jack Bauer was trending worldwide.
It's a little sad, actually, that Jack Bauer was trending when he got killed. But
it's that passion behind
absolutely,
it.
Absolutely. And look, what it's given to us with social networking, the big plus for us as filmmakers, as people that are producing television, is you get a direct line into your audience, and obviously you're going to get the highs and the lows, and so you get rid of the people that think it's the best thing on the planet, the people that hate it, but in between is going to give you a pretty good idea of what the show is. And so there was always a demand for it to come back. People have been talking about it coming back since it went off the air. The minute it went off the air, people were already talking about it coming back. So you kind of hear that for a while, and you start realizing maybe it's not a bad idea that it comes back. So I think I put a Twitter out saying that the fans were an influence in it coming back, and truthfully so. And you've got to remember, we're not the only ones reading that. The executives are reading it too. So they're getting influenced also. The guys that are actually making the decisions to say we're going to put the money out to bring it back, they're also reading social networking, and they're actually promoting social networking. They're telling us to they send us things and say, get it out there, get it out there. Nobody is looking at it anymore like the pariah it kind of was when it first started. I think people are now looking at it saying, no, this is a direct line into the people that we need to advertise to. So everyone is using it, and we're using it, and it's fun for us because it's the first time that Twitter. I think Twitter was just starting as we went off the air. It was just kind of getting going. So it's really interesting now to get the feedback that we've been getting. It's actually
instant
wonderful.
Feedback as well.
It's instant feedback, It's as you're playing back feedback. With actors getting involved with live tweeting and stuff. It really is an exciting way to sort of watch television.
Absolutely. So first 2 episodes, we had Jack breaking in, Jack breaking out. We had a first lockdown. We had drones. We had great lines, great dialogue. I thought it was great. What was your feelings of the first 2 episodes when you get the
it felt good. I mean, those first 2 scripts were really exciting when we saw them. Again, hadn't seen 24 scripts in 5 years for me, 4 years for the show, and so it was exciting. And I knew that there were elements in there that the fans were going to love, which is always important for me, sort of being a 24 fan. What are the things that they're going to hook onto? Jack sitting silently for almost 40 minutes of the first episode.
Yeah, that was.
I thought it was pretty ballsy on the part of the writers, and Kiefer embraced it. It's not like he said, "I got to say something." He loved that he was just this sort of quiet enigma of a man. That's who Jack Bauer is. If nothing else, it really showed who Jack Bauer was, and it represented those 4 years that he was on the run. He became this kind of solo, quiet, machine basically. And so I love that. I thought that was a great part of it. The introduction of the characters was really tight. The way we introduced Kate and Navarro.
It's classic 24 as well, the way
classic
you can just
24.
start a new season with a whole new cast.
Yeah, and look, it's why I stayed with 24 as long as I did, because it never felt like we were doing the same thing every year. Like a lot of shows do, especially procedurals that are really based on, here's another crime, it's the same 5 people, saying the same things, going to the same places. Yeah. And 24 was never that. I mean, we have a few things that are, that are the same. There are some that indicate, the lockdown. I mean, there are things, but
shoot that much television, there's always going to be similarities.
But basically, it's different because we have a new cast. It's like doing a pilot every year.
Yeah.
And not only do we have a new cast, we have to do the hardest thing a pilot does, which is in that first episode, not only introduce them, give them backstory, give them purpose, and then send them out, flying.
Yeah.
And in our case, send them out flying than most other shows can do, because most other shows can warm you up for a couple episodes and then get going. We can't.
No.
We have to warm you up and be, moving in the first 10 minutes. Otherwise, it's not 24. So I think that was really good this year. I think the writing was good, and then the casting is extraordinary this year.
It's a great cast.
We're known for that. We take a lot of time casting. We're very meticulous about who we think are 24 type actors, and so I just think we did it again. I just think we have a great cast. I think Yvonne is just off the charts good. You know, Ben Bratt couldn't be more seasoned and fun to work with. I mean, they're all there. I mean, we have Michelle Fairley. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Stephen Fry. It's just endless. And then, of course, you got Kim Raver and Bill Devane and Mary Lynn, all the people that you had before. I mean, the fun of the show was always the mix of the old and the new.
Yeah.
And I just think we hit it perfectly this time. I really do.
No, it's great. It's a great cast. In terms of just going back to that 40-minute thing, so when I was watching it, I didn't even notice it was that long.
That's
because the episode ran so quick. It wasn't until I went on Twitter when someone said 40 minutes. I was like, really?
Yeah.
So I think I was
I read it online too. I didn't know it was that long either. So
I think it was testament to the way it was shot and like Kiefer's role in that, and just kind of it was all by body language.
Yeah.
Really good. So how do you find Chloe's changing role? Because she's obviously a little bit different.
Yes. And as the series developed, you're going to see why. I mean, it's not just an arbitrary choice to say, hey, let's just make her different. Again, all these choices are based in story reality and serving to the story, enslaving to the story. So you'll see why she ended up with this group. You'll see why she ended up with Adrian. That all comes clear within the next few episodes. So it'll be a better explanation of why Chloe looks like she looks. To develop the look was tough, and
she embraced it?
She embraced it right away. And the hair is the most difficult part because she has to live with that hair on a daily basis. I mean, there's pieces that go in it, but majority of it. And I think the other day we were at the thing, and I said, "You just look great. You look so great." And she goes, "I know. I'm getting used to this. I'm getting to like this hair." So it's pretty funny that she's really embraced it now. But yeah, designing what the tattoos were, which you haven't seen that much of, but they're really, really smart, and they all have meaning, and we should probably do a photo shoot just on those tattoos to show everybody what they are and where they're placed and what they mean. And so that was something we had to do and do tests on. The hair was something we did tests on. The wardrobe we did tests on, and we made sure everything went back to the writers in LA and the producers at Fox, just to make sure everyone was really happy with what we were going to do with her. And I think it all came together. I think it came together really perfectly without kind of sticking out like a sore thumb. I think it if you can say that look is natural and organic, but it does feel it. And again, you'll get a better explanation as you realize what's happened to her, basically.
Yeah. There was something I think I've seen Kiefer say in an interview, that he really relies on you as a director, but you, like, particularly yourself. Why is that? Why does he?
Well, I mean, really, most actors do. I mean, it's not just Kiefer. I mean, you're the one. You got to remember how, when you guys see a show, and even for me, when I see a show, it's just like, wow, there it is. There's the complete thing. That worked. They were sad here and happy here and sad here and happy here when they were supposed to be, or whatever the arc is. But remember, we didn't shoot it that way. We shot, this scene over here and that scene over there. And so actors can kind of do that within their own role, and they do their homework and say, I have to be here, and then my arc, my story arc's there. I said, but I'm the one that has to make sure it's all complete.
Yeah.
And so they have to trust me for that. They have to trust me for that. They haven't seen the locations. It's the first time they're there. The action, what's written and what we do is always adjusted, one way or the other, usually to try to make it bigger and better. So a lot of the action that, Kiefer reads and then we get there, I've, expanded it. So he has to trust me that that's going to work, and so they all do that. They have to. And then so does the crew. I mean, when you say, I want it like this, because you're the one that's thinking about it as a complete, 1 hour show.
Yeah.
That's you. Everybody else is taking their own little parts, and then the director has to do that. So, in a case like Kiefer and I, we've just worked together for so long now that he can ask me right away, and I can even give him a look sometimes, and he gets it.
Right.
So we have a shorthand now, and again, it's different because when you're doing television, you have multiple directors. On 24, we probably didn't have multiple directors as much as any show on television. At one point, it was Brad Turner and I that did 10 each.
Yeah.
So that's 20 out of a 24 series. So that's, two guys that Kiefer 100% trusts. And not that he doesn't trust the other guys, but the other guys aren't there every day like we are. The other guys haven't been there, haven't got the background of all the other shows. So, there's just a little hesitation to go 100% with those guys. So that's kind of part of it. And now we've got Mylan shooting these last ones, and Mylan was a regular director on 24. So again, you want people that you know, you can, and not only trust from the actor's point of view, know the show, and can get in fast, do what we need to do in the short time we have, as I'm always complaining about the time, but there isn't a lot of time for what we need to do, and so everything has to be really on point. You know, there's no point for waffling, basically.
Yeah. So how do you find actually giving up the seats as such? You know, handing over to someone else.
Well, I mean, you know, I know I can't do everything, and you know, all directors I think are a little bit, you know, crazy because they want to do everything, but you can't. So you know, I know that, so I don't fight it. It's what you can do. But I'm still a big part of the process. I'm still, you know, I'm at the script meetings as much as I can be. They show me the location photos. I'm involved in the casting. This is all on episodes I don't do. Obviously on the episodes I do, I'm involved with that, but I'm involved with all that anyways. And then basically I'm a support for that director. You know, he can say, look, I'm having trouble with this, and you know, how do I deal with that actor, and all of these things, or even crew, you know, how do I deal with that crew, or you know, the DP, whatever it is, that's me anyway. So so pretty much involved in everything. And then also in post, you know, once a director posts his, you know, once he does his cut, I'm involved as a producer then with what we do after that. So I'm involved anyway, somehow or another. I'm just not there every day to call action. That's really just the difference.
You were just saying off camera with the weather, which I'm hoping it's not going to rain again. Is you got 15 days to do post?
Well, the last one on episode 11, because we're doing 11 and 12 together. From the day we finished 11 and 12 block, 15 days later it's on the air. Which, you know, anyone that knows anything about post for a television show realizes that's absolutely ridiculous, absolutely almost impossible. So it's going to be a real challenge to do that, but we've always, the last 2 episodes are always very, very tight for us. So it's just something that we have to do, because by the time we start, we're eating up all our post time, and that's why the first ones have to be done on certain times, because it all kind of, you know, log jams at the end. So it's going to be very tight. So so you'll know what the weather was in London 3 weeks after you see it on air. Because we just shot it 3 weeks ago when you see episode 11.
So in terms of dialogue, I mean, we've got a feature on our show called Line of the Hour, which the listeners love.
Oh, cool. What were the lines of the hour in 1 and 2? Okay,
so me and Trig have a competition over the course of the season.
The lines of the hour?
So he nominates one, and I nominate one. The listeners like choose who's the best. So
I've got a couple of guesses. But.
So my line, so Trig chose first, and Trig's line was, "You know who I am."
And that's the one I would have said. Right.
Trig, I'm gonna blow your head off. So okay, my line. I had to choose something else. We used to study your missions back in training. You're really something back in the day. And then about 20 minutes later, you chose.
Yeah, exactly. When the lines go with the action, it's actually interesting, because that was his response to that line, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so that was actually pretty funny.
So whose line's better?
I think you know who I am. I think that's the one. That's the one that came to my head right away. Although I do love that other line too. I think both of them are really good, and they happen like, you know, back to back. And the other thing I think that you know who I am is, well, I was trying to think if it's the first line. It's not. It's his second line, I think.
Yeah, because he says
"Take me to her" is the first line that he has. So the fact that it's like very early on, and like the first thing Jack Bauer has said in the 4 years that it's been off the air, I think gives it slightly more relevance, and it's Jack Bauer.
Absolutely,
it always gives it relevance.
So episode 2, Trig's was. So I got to choose first. This one, Trig's was Chloe's line. I hotwired it.
Right.
Which.
It's okay.
It's all right.
I wouldn't have said that one.
Yeah, my line is, look, I can tell you consider yourself a pretty intimidating group. You probably think I'm at a disadvantage. I promise you I'm not.
That's pretty good. I think that's the one.
That's
easily the one.
It's classic.
That's classic. Well, and I loved it too, because he was so outnumbered in that, you know. And it's funny, because I think, you know, if you don't know 24, if you watch that for the first time, you'd think, oh my God, this guy's screwed. He's got all these guys around him. If you're a Jack Bauer fan and you've watched 24, you're thinking, oh, these poor guys. You're thinking, these poor guys are going to get it. So he's really just saying what you're thinking anyways. So I thought that was interesting, actually. I thought that was kind of fun.
So do you have, you might not be able to tell us particularly, I don't know, but do you have a favourite line that you've heard coming up? Like something that just stood out, some dialogue?
Oh my God, it's so hard, because I got so much going through my head right now. So many different episodes going through my head. Yeah, there's some good stuff coming up. There's some good Heller stuff Bill is really great at delivering these lines, and,
yeah.
and I think he gets a line that might be a little flat on the page, and he really kind of embellishes it, as does Kiefer, actually.
Yeah.
And most good actors.
He's got a great voice as well.
Yeah, and he's got a great voice.
Yeah.
So I think there's some Heller stuff actually that's pretty funny. Stephen Fry doesn't get the funny lines, unfortunately. We're actually doing the opposite with Stephen. We're trying to make him as solid and believable as the Prime Minister as we can. We've got to be very careful not to slide over there. So I think he's doing a great job. I love the fact that on Twitter someone said, he'd be better as he'd be great as the real Prime Minister. So I thought that was actually pretty funny, which we heard all the time, of course, about David Palmer on our show. So I thought that was kind of neat.
And he follows you on Twitter now.
And now he follows me on Twitter.
You've made it.
How cool is that? I'm telling you, I don't know why I thought that was so cool, but I did.
I think he's one of the most influential people on Twitter. I think
probably,
in terms of where they rate him, he's right up there.
I thought that was so funny, and the fact that the first thing he tweets to me about is these silly porky whatever they are.
I saw that.
Percy something candies.
Yeah,
I just thought it couldn't have been a funnier thing to tweet me about. So I just thought that was all very funny.
Damn It.
Damn It comes through again.
We used to have a feature on the show called Jack's Damn It Count. We used to monitor it and see it, just as a bit of fun. Is it something you talk about offset?
Well, I mean, look, it's because we're on a network. We have no choice, That's really the one thing you can say that expresses probably the fact that you would have been saying you would have been swearing basically, like they do on cable all the time. So really, it's not like we have a choice. It's the word of frustration that represents probably words that we would have actually said, or not we, but a character would have said in that kind of heated moment. He would have said something else, and so that's what Damn It represents, and it works. I mean, it works for us. It's become a bit of a 24 sort of icon, but it works for us.
We remember interviewing Jane Atkinson back in season 6, plays Karen Hayes, and she was saying that people actually want to say damn. Like some of the cast members, like, can I say damn it? Does that happen?
Well, we do have to be careful. We do have to be careful because it has become kind of Jack's, and there has been times I've said to people, I'm sorry, you can't say that. And sometimes because of proximity, because I know that he just said it a scene ago, and so you can't take away from his damn it.
Yeah.
So we do have to be careful of it, and then we have very limited choice of what people can say in frustration. So yeah, we have to be careful.
Yeah. One other feature we have is Jack's kill cam, which is very iconic. That shot that we saw with Jack's dossier.
Yes.
Whose idea was that?
Well, actually, that was really funny. It was the Useful, or the company that does all the graphic work for us, who've done an amazing job and did the Bourne movies, and one of probably the sort of elite graphic people that they have here. I think they did Skyfall and other big pictures. This is a challenge for them because it's television, so they have the lead time they have on those movies, so it's a bit of a challenge. But they're the ones that put it together, and basically it's off the internet. That's the best part.
Yeah,
it's not like we've kept track of that. It's
24 Wiki.
It's virtually the 24 Wiki, or they pulled it off somewhere, which I just thought was funny, and I was going to adjust it at some point because there's no last names of people, and then I just thought, you know what, I'm going to let it stay in there because it's a bit of a nod to the people on the internet. It's our little Easter egg of we know this is what you guys do and this is yours, and so we're just kind of highlighting you in a way. So I kind of left it there, and I knew people would freeze it and look at it and go, oh, look at all the names that we remember. So look, it's raining again.
It's raining.
I gotta tell you, this is England. They're saying it's going to be over. This is what happens when we're on set. Everyone goes, no problem, it'll be over any time now, as we stand in the rain.
Yes.
Or in this case, sit in the rain.
Sit in the rain.
Watch this. Watch this. Shows you how ready I am. See, and this is what you have to do.
I haven't come prepared.
When you see, this is what you have to do when you live in England. This is making this one of the most unusual interviews I've ever done. It's our second rain delay in one interview.
So obviously you're a big TV movie fan. What's been your favourite TV show? What have you watched since 24's gone off air?
Since 24 has gone off the air, I love Bates Motel.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
I think Bates Motel is really just an incredibly new, innovative series that Carlton Cuse does. I used to be on Lost.
Yeah,
just love that. True Detective is really interesting.
I've only seen
really
the first
different.
4 episodes.
Yeah, it's really kind of weirdly strange but compelling. You know, it's great. Look, the fact that any of these shows are just breaking molds, you know, to do what they do. I watch Game of Thrones. I'm not a huge fan, but I do watch it and respect it for what it is. You know, again, good television. I'm just like love watching what's out there, and the networks are trying. I mean, they're now fighting back a little bit. You know, they're getting out of the mold a little bit, which is good. I mean, they had to basically. Cable forced their hand, but I think it's really interesting what they're doing, and the fact that there's so much out there now. I don't know if it's just me, but it just seems like there's so much more drama than there ever was when it was just all network based.
Yeah.
You know, the cable stations are just doing some good. The Americans is a really interesting show. It's just good television, just really solid television. Low Winter Sun I really liked. Unfortunately, it didn't get a pickup, but I thought it was just a really strong show. So, you know, there's just this. It's get out there and watch TV. That's all I can tell people. There's so much out there. It's just exciting how much there is, and now you can. It's easier to watch. I mean, you can just binge watch it, or you can get it streaming. It's just you don't have to be there at 8 o'clock on a Friday to see it. You can see it anytime you want. So go out there and support all that stuff.
It's the first time in the UK that we've had 24 premiere at the exact same time as the States, which is great for fans.
Yeah, it's great.
Do you think that's driven with like piracy as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's no doubt in anybody's mind that's exactly what it is, because what was happening again, internet forcing their hands, the social media forcing the hands of the network, because people aren't going to wait. You know, people aren't going to wait. And I mean, sometimes it was a year, you know, from airing in North America to airing in some other country in Europe. And so people aren't going to wait a year. There's no way. They don't even want to wait a week anymore. I mean, that's how immediate it's become. And so obviously there's more piracy, and people are going to say, well, look, I'm not going to wait. I'm going to go get it illegally online somewhere. I'm not going to pay for it. I'm going to get it illegally. So they realize that the closer they can make all those air dates together, and they've made them virtually around the world. I mean, on Kiefer's other series, Touch, they made it almost the whole world saw it at the same time, and we're pretty close to that. I mean, almost all the countries are within a week, I think. I'm not sure all the countries, but the big markets are all within a week. So it stops that, and then people can do the water cooler thing and get on and talk to their friends in Italy about what happened last night. I mean, that's really what people want to do. You know,
if they don't show it at the same time, if you don't want spoilers, you kind of have to stay off social media for like 12 weeks.
Which people won't do.
Yeah.
You know, we know that they won't do it. Yeah. I find it hard enough staying off social media for sports.
Yeah.
You know, when I've recorded something because I'm busy working and I want to see it, I can't look because someone will tell me who won the Grand Prix, and I'm like, oh no, I don't want to know. You know, so you know, it's really hard, and you know, people aren't going to go off social media. It's the lifeline now for a lot of people. So yes, it's very smart of the networks to put the broadcast, you know, the same around the world.
And your most anticipated movie for 2014, one to come?
My most anticipated movie. You know, I'm just such a movie fan. I just can't wait for anything. I'm just a trailer guy now too. That's the other great thing. I mean, the internet is just filled with these great HD trailers that just look so great. I just saw Planet of the Apes, Rise of the Planet of the Apes last night, and I have a soft spot for Planet of the Apes. I was a crazy fan of the original series. I was there every, you know, the beginning, the day they came out, I was there with all my friends and saw all of them as they came out. I was a crazy Planet of the Apes fan, and I like this new version of it. I know there was another version of it, the Tim Burton version. Not a big fan of that, but I kind of like this new version. It's a really interesting, stranger sort of take on it, and that looks good. I thought that trailer looked pretty good. You know, another Tom Cruise sci-fi one that kind of looks interesting.
Yeah, I saw
with
that.
Emily Blunt. That looks kind of interesting. Yeah, you know, bring them on. Bring the movies on. I love them.
What would be your most memorable moment of filming 24 Living of a Day?
You know what? Hard to say because it's not over yet. So I'm sure there's going to be another moment that's maybe closer to the end.
Yeah.
Will probably be the most memorable moment. I think right now the most memorable moment is the first shot that I had to work with Kiefer. He didn't work the very first day of shooting, so the second day was the attack on the block, I call it. The attack on that where the bad guys were Basher's flat, basically. And so his very first shot was when he's gone up the stairs and he has to come by the camera with the gun out.
Yeah.
And typical Jack Bauer, and the camera's going at him and he goes by it. And that was his very first shot. Again, I didn't really think about it. It just happened to be the first shot. And I just remember looking at the monitors and watching him go by, and I just looked at, he came back around the corner, he goes, how was it? I had this big smile on my face, and he's like, what are you smiling about? I said, well, are you kidding me? Look what the first shot was. It's Jack Bauer. Like, we're back at it again. And that day we did like 100 setups. So it was like the beginning of a really long, hard day that we just went like crazy to get all that action in that one day. So it was. I think that was the one that kind of sticks out right now.
Excellent. And finally, can you just set up the rest of the season, obviously, as best you can? What can we expect?
Well, we've obviously set up the drones. They're going to be a big part of this. They're really controversial right now. It's again ripped right from the headlines, which I just find really interesting. I'm learning a lot about them doing the show that I didn't really know about, which I'm assuming is going to happen with other people too. So the drones are going to be a big part of it, really through the whole thing. The continued relationship between Chloe and Jack is really interesting, and how Adrian fits into all that. I think we set the groundwork for that in the first two, so that's gonna continue. The storyline with the Michelle Fairley character Margot, and what happens with Simone and her husband, and what happens with that family is really interesting. Every once in a while we kind of skew off into this family dynamic, like we did with Sheree and her family, and Nestor, and and the son. And so this is another one of those really interesting families that are twisted and a bit odd. And so I think people are going to really enjoy that, and Margot Michelle being the head of that family. The continuing storyline in on the president's side is obviously the love triangle with Kim and Tate and Jack. So it's all
we hate him already.
That's already what's happened. Boudreaux, not Tate, but Boudreaux characters are what's happening there. And then of course the deterioration of the president, which again I thought was really smart. I mean, what does happen when a president has some kind of ailment that's going to stop him from being the president? We've had it a couple of times, I think, in the history of America where it had to be dealt with. And so it's really interesting to see that, especially a president that's on the older side, that something could happen to him that puts him in a position to make decisions that are not 100%. So I think exploring that a little more is going to be really interesting.
I don't think that would have worked if we hadn't seen him before, if we didn't have that relationship
exactly
with him. So I think that's really important.
Exactly. So that's important. And again, Bill Devane is great. He's going to do he's done some beautiful work with that, and dealing with his disease and doing that. So I think that's a big part of it too. And then you're going to get your computers, your action, your things blowing up, Jack shooting people, Jack being Jack getting the information he needs to get, and the story moving quickly.
Excellent. Well, Jon, thank you so much for coming and coming on the 24 UK podcast. It's been a pleasure. Wish you luck for the last few episodes filming, and we'll enjoy the ride.
Well, thank you very much, and it was a pleasure being here, even though we had two, not just one, but two rain delays.
Thank you, Jon.
Thank you.